So I am here with Jarood Bolivar. How you doing today?
I'm
He's a
good, man.
fan of hip hop culture, man. I just really enjoy your takes on Twitter, man. I feel like, that you have like, some insightful commentary, like, and I love people like, like myself who love the culture. And to kick things off, man, what's the one hip hop album or track released this year that you think changed the game and why?
Man, change the game. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I'm not gonna necessarily say change the game, but the hip hop album and or well, the hip hop album I think has been really like making the most noise and for good reason. I think would have to be "Let God Sort 'Em Out" by the Clips.
Yeah.
Um, I think that album, like, it's an album where, first off, it's 16 years in the making. You know what I mean? I've been a Clips fan pretty much since I was a child. Their last album actually came out when I was 19. I graduated high school back in 2009. That was when their last album came out. So for them to have that hiatus, come back 16 years later and drop this incredible album like they never left. That was a beautiful thing. And then even the buzz around it, the hype around it, I think that in itself is game changing because a lot of people don't even remember what a typical rollout used to look like. And I think that they've done an exceptional job with just showing people how it's done. And I would say, one obviously there's a lot of standout tracks on that album, but I'm not gonna lie, man. Birds Don't Sing, man. Birds Don't Sing is a beautiful record, man. I feel like people who hear that record will appreciate, just the tender moment of that record. So yeah, I would definitely have to say that amongst everything else, man. But I could go all day about that project. It's a phenomenal project.
Yeah, like I love like the Clips, and I've been a fan of them since the beginning of their career. I think it's
Hmm.
beautiful, like Malice to come back to hip hop, like after like leaving Christianity, and I feel like that in a lot of ways, like I see that reflected in the music. I feel like it has a lot of depth, and just like I love like Birds Don't Sing as well. I think like that's an incredible song, and just being grateful to be able to be here, is the message like we could take from that. If you had to crown a single song of the year for 2025 so far, what would it be and what makes it stand above everyone else?
Let's see, a song of the year. Hmm. It's been so much dope music out here that uh that one would be quite difficult. I think that for me, because I'm not really I don't know. I would have to probably stick with the Clips right now. I think that so be it, Chains and Whips specifically. Some of those, those two records to me set the game on fire. And then salute to Joey Badass and everybody who was participation in that, that battle. I thought that was an incredible moment as well. Um, let's see. The Weeknd also had one of my favorite albums to come out this year, so he had some incredible music on there too. But as far as like a song, I would have to say, yeah, I would have to stick with the Clips on this one, man. I think that so be it. And then when we finally got to hear like Ace Trumpet, so be it. And then we get to hear Chains and Whips. I think that yeah, those three, that's the trifecta right there, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that Clip album, like is obviously outstanding. That's like no brainer. If you're a hip hop head, like that's probably like what you're going to have like at the top of your playlist right now.
Mhm.
Which album do you believe is an underrated project or artist you feel everyone's sleeping on this year?
This year. Okay. I think that the Raekwon album is, I mean, it just came out.
Right.
Actually, we're eating good. And shout out to the Freddie Gibbs Alchemist project as well that just came out. But that Raekwon project, I think that I'm not gonna say is underrated because I've seen a lot of love for the project, but I don't
Mhm.
think that people are gonna like give it its proper praising because there's so much music that came out and is coming out. I think that that album right there, some people might overlook that, but if you haven't heard The Emperor's New Clothes by
Yeah.
Raekwon, definitely check that joint out. It's a phenomenal project, especially from a legend like him to come, an 8 year hiatus and then to come out with another just, dope ass album. I think that that right there it would be my pick.
I feel that it got overshadowed by the song Omerta and Nas's original verse. And
Hmm.
like, the fact that people were saying like, that he had dissed Jim Jones and people thought it was a Jim Jones diss. And it took away from like, the actual, like, looking at it, like, for face value. But like, it is an incredible project as well. I love, Raekwon. And I think like that 2025, that you mentioned Freddie Gibbs, like who like he just released his album, like and that's an incredible project as well. Which album do you believe is overhyped in 2025? And are you brave enough to say it?
Overhyped, 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 overhyped. I think right now I would say, see, it's tough because like a lot of these albums just came out. Like if it would be totally different if like some of these albums came out at the top of the year. So how it is with when a project drops and stuff like that. Like the tensions is people the hype is going to be super high and everything like that. I would say that that would be to be determined in terms of like what is the most overhyped because I think to me, um, you know, going back to the Clips project, I think the Clips project, I don't even think that that album is overhyped me. I think that that album actually exceeded expectations because we didn't know what to expect. Like a lot of people didn't know for pushing Malice specifically to get back in this space, like you were mentioning earlier about Malice, even though Malice technically was still active, like, he did drop two projects in the middle, in the middle of that, disbandment. But for him to get back on this level and, you know, not be rusty, just basically pick up where he left off at and then the album to be immaculately produced, well polished, both brothers really showcasing what it means to be ideal veterans and stuff like that. I think that that album actually not only met the expectations, actually, I would say that it went above and beyond expectations. I don't think a lot of people expected it to be as incredible as it ultimately became. And I think that it has a lot to do with them just, taking the time to craft something that's going to be remembered. So that's going to be like a, to be determined thing. Um, because early in the year was kind of a little dry spell. There wasn't really too many hip hop albums really dropping for real. But now we're at a point right now, especially during this, summertime, like where we're getting quality album after quality album after quality album. So that's going to be to be determined for me.
Yeah. If I had to say like an artist that was like overrated,
Mhm.
I think that's the easy one for me. I'm gonna go with Drake. And I say that like, I know there's a lot of Drake
Ooh.
slander, and it's like not because of like, losing the Kendrick Lamar beef. I feel like, he's supposed to come with some heat like after that. And I'm just not hearing that from him. And like what he's capable of doing and touching deeper. And I feel like, he's stuck in like, a past era that is kind of like moved on sonically.
If I may, because I've had my issues with Drake the last decade actually. At one point in time I was a fan of Drake, you know what I mean? Like Drake he got super popping I remember when So Far Gone came out. It came out in
Yeah.
2009, which was the year I graduated high school. And
Nostalgic, yeah.
yeah,
I remember that too.
so as a young, young teenage kid going into my young adult years and everything like that. So, you know, he was, he had projects that I really really enjoyed, like Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. Those are bar none my two favorite Drake albums. And when it comes to mixtapes, obviously, So Far Gone and If You're Reading This Is Too Late. But what happened with Drake was that once the ghostwriting allegations came out, and that pretty much put a damper on everything. I truly believe that he stopped caring about the respect of his peers and trying to create these, clear, cohesive, concise albums. And he decided to make an artistic pivot into chasing the hits and chasing these records as opposed to putting out quality projects. And then you can hear it from views all the way to what he's put out currently. The music has gotten progressively worse and worse and worse, to the point where now you're getting all these different allegations of you know trying to stay relevant by
Yeah,
sounding like these guys, or
for sure.
doing stuff with these guys. So with that being said, like, and never mind the the other corny stuff that he's doing. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think for me, the lawsuit in itself was the last straw that
Right.
made me
The
not
Tupac
really.
AI song,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was a lot.
Um,
And is like, I mean, I think it was funny, like, for a Canadian trying to G check, saying somebody from like, South Central anyway. Like, but
Facts. No,
like, and Kendrick Lamar, like, I mean, I think like, he's an incredible artist, like, I mean, that's real poetry, real depth.
facts.
And, I love though Drake as an artist, and like you said, like some of his earlier projects, like I really appreciated. I was a little older than you, but when the So Far Gone mixtape came out, like I remember like that being like that the anthem of the summer, pretty much. Like
Facts.
this is like an important like period. I feel like that we take music, and for this summer in 2025, what would you say like those songs are? Like you have three songs that should be on everybody's playlist.
Oh man. Let's see. There's some. I think we're just now getting to the point of like people having songs on the playlist, but I think that man, that's a good question. Three songs on that's hard because, man, I'm a project guy. So it's
Okay.
like I can't really pick three specific
I get that.
songs.
I get that. Yeah, like
Yeah,
when you
so
like, when you like albums, like,
yeah, yeah.
so let's just say for the three albums, like, for sure, like people should check out, like, you've already said the Clips, Raekwon, what will be the other one?
I would say Hurry Up Tomorrow by the Weekend would be one. If you haven't listened to
Yeah.
that, that was a great album that dropped at the top of the year. I would also say definitely check out Alfredo 2. I think Alfredo 2 is definitely worth the listen, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, those will be my pick for sure as of right now. There's probably some more that I'm probably gonna not be able to think about in time, but yeah, those will be my picks right now for sure in
Yeah.
25.
Yeah. I would shout out to like Joyner Lucas project, man, like is pretty good. Like, and I really like, feel like he is underrated to a certain point. Like,
Hmm.
people don't give him like, the credit, like, he does like artistically, and like, it's like the beef with Skepta. I think like even like indulging that,
Yeah,
like, how of a top tier, like, lyricist that he is.
yeah.
And which upcoming releases are you most hyped for in the second half of 2025?
Well, let me add one more to that list earlier, man. I got to shout out to Ray Vaughn.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
dropped an
for
incredible,
sure.
yeah, he dropped an incredible tape called "The Good, the Bad, the Dollar Menu." I would definitely recommend if anybody has not
It's funny,
checked
man. You
out that
mentioned him.
project,
Yeah, I just put in a request like to interview him. So hopefully I hear back, man. Like, you know what I mean?
that
Yeah.
would be fire, bro. Like, nah, for real. So
Yeah.
yeah, salute to Ray Vaughn, man. Incredible MC, dope ass project. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. Now, as to your other question, oh, can you repeat the question again?
Which upcoming release are you most hyped about for the second half of 2025?
I think that there's a few releases I'm excited about. From the OGs, I'm curious to see what Ghostface is gonna do with Supreme Clientele 2.
Okay.
Obviously, the Nas DJ Premier record. I got both Jid and Rock Marciano uh, projects coming out on my birthday verbatim. So the
Yeah, I
Rock
saw that.
Marciano.
I saw you on Twitter talking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so those two, the Rock Marciano premiere project is coming out on my birthday. Same with the Jid project. So those are going to be dope listens. I've been waiting forever and a day for ASAP Rocky's album. You know what I mean? Like like I appreciate him being a fashionista and all that, man. And dropping the singles is cool, but we ready for the project. Um, but yeah, like everything coming out of that Mass Appeal camp. I know Rakim, and Big Ghost are supposed to be dropping a project together. I'm looking forward to that whenever they drop that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much variety of projects coming out the second half that we're gonna be eating good. I personally think so. That would be my answer. Those would be my answers.
No, I feel that, man. Like, who do you think's gonna surprise us all with a hit nobody sees coming this year?
Uh Man, I you know what? I think it's been a surprising year just throughout. Like I don't think even with clips, like I don't think that everybody expected,
Right.
let
Yeah,
God
for
sort them
sure.
out to be, what it was. So honestly, bro, I think that anybody who really drops is capable of like really surprising because I think like even with the Raekwon album, I think a lot of people, it had been it. It's not that people were worried that Raekwon had fell off musically. It's just more so like when it's been such a long time and you drop something, is it gonna be good? Like there's gonna be concerns. So and then even with the Alfredo 2 album, like if you look at the reception for that, like I love the first one. The first one was good, but this one was arguably better than the first one. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm like every project that I've listened to, um, I feel as though everybody's been surprising me with just the quality and getting back to putting out really really dope music as opposed to gimmicks or you
Right.
know stuff like that. So I think a lot of these guys have potential to surprise me, honestly.
Do you see more of a focus on the emphasis on lyricism? Because, like, it seems like that was a thing that we had lost previously years. I could point, like, to a number of years where it didn't seem like lyricism was a focus.
Right. Um, lyricism never fell off, or there was never not a focus on lyricism. The problem is we're in an era where like if you're the term digging in the crates, right?
Right, right,
So
right.
it's like it's kind of like going back into the 80s and the 90s, and you was hearing word of mouth, and people was talking like when people was praising like these projects or whatever the case may be, and that inspired you to go out there and search for what it is that you're looking for. I think we're kind of back and at that type of time, especially in the digital age where like you're not necessarily forced to listen to stuff that you don't want to listen to. You can listen to what you want to listen to. But there was always, to answer your question, there was always an emphasis on lyricism. The problem is that when we take it to a mainstream level, it's really only a handful of people that are connecting with people on a mainstream sense. Hence why Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, to a latter degree, Drake at one point in time, they were able to still, they still had these runs where they were connecting with people, and it was from a lyricism standpoint. But there was never not an emphasis. It's just more so like, everybody can't be a Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be a LeBron James. Sometimes you're gonna have to deal with being a Scottie Pippen or Dennis Rodman or you know what I mean, like a Draymond Green or something like that. So I think that when it comes to just lyrical content, I think it's always going to be to the forefront. Yes, we might let a lot of that, you know, other stuff, reign supreme from a mainstream standpoint, but the lyrical content and substance and just making, quality music was always there. I could pinpoint I could go back any year in the 2020s and even the 2010s where there was always quality projects that came out. They may have just not had
That's
like,
true. Yeah, I see
main
what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
yeah.
What are your hottest takes about the current hip hop scene that you think will piss people off,
Uh
but you absolutely stand by it?
my hottest takes. Okay. I I feel like nobody should be supporting Drake under no circumstances in hip hop, especially since he is actively trying to dictate, censor, and change how the art is done in America while being a non-American. I stand on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I,
uh,
I co-sign that, man. Like I never thought about that, but like you know what I mean, that's a good point. It
yeah.
is.
Um, never mind the corny stuff he's doing. You heard about, what he said about, UK versus US, man. Like, come
Right.
on,
Like,
bro.
you know, that was just ridiculous. Like I didn't know like if he was trolling or like, you know, it's like
He's
uh
clearly hurt, man. He's
and
clearly hurt. You know what it is.
yeah, it's like I
But
think like there are some like really incredible UK artists. I know like a lot of people like, you know, it may not be their jam, but like you know, I give respect to Stormzy. I like, you know, I
mhm.
listen to Stormzy, I listen to Central C. Like
Little Sims is one of my favorites. She
okay,
she is super dope.
okay.
Steph London, she's pretty
Yeah.
awesome as well. I like, Giggs is a vet, so I
Okay.
rock with him too. Like you said, Central C, I like him too. Skepta,
No, I like it's okay. Like I don't feel like I don't put him in the same tier as Joyner Lucas.
right.
You know, like you know, if there was an artist from the UK, like and Joyner Lucas like makes mention of it, like in the first diss song, like you know, they should
Yeah.
listen to somebody else. If like you know, it was like they wanted to do a UK like American rapper like thing, but like
Mhm.
I just like you know, it didn't make sense, and like I just kind of thought like that first song, like, you know, it was complete trash. And like, you know, I really listened to it and I was listening, like I felt like, you know, and I listened to UK artists. I really enjoy Central C. I really enjoy Stormzy. Like I
Mhm.
love their music.
Mhm.
Like I just wasn't feeling it, like you know, and it's like you know, it's either it's hot or it's not. If like you know, I
Yeah.
feel like UK lyricists were like on par, and like I don't really see any UK lyricists kind of being on par. But also like maybe if I lived in the UK, there would be like you know different. Like if like I live in LA, so
Mhm.
I
Salute.
understand like LA culture like a lot more. Like and I have an affinity more like you know for Nipsey Hussle than you know someone
Rest
who
in peace.
lives and the South does. So like
Mhm.
like you know, hip hop it is regional and it's pretty vast. Is there any artist or producer you believe will define the next era of hip hop?
I think there's several. I think the Alchemist has a defining sound, and it's been, I would say, because the Alchemist has been out since the '90s, but I would say that this era, this last like decade that we've been a part of,
Yeah.
from the 2010s to the 2020s, I definitely believe that it's his era. Along with Hit Boy, I think Hit Boy did some phenomenal things. I also want to give a shout out to Metro Boomin. I think Metro Boomin is definitely catching his second wind. I think those projects that he did with Future were phenomenal, but he's always done like these collab projects that were really, really solid projects to me. Um, I would also have to say, hmm, let's see, I would love to see more. I'm glad to see more of our, classic producers like, Pete Rock is getting back in the lab. To see Primo active, even more again. Um, let's see. I want to see um, producers like Soundwave, Kendrick Lamar's producer. I want to see him, lock back in more and put out some more projects and stuff like that. whether it be, with Kendrick or somebody else, either from the PG Lang camp or the TDE camp, dropping, doing some things. So yeah, it's a couple of producers past and present that I'm really proud to, look forward to, whatever new material that they got going.
Yeah, man. I love The Alchemist, and like, I think like, what I love about him is the fact like, his willingness to collaborate. And
Hmm.
he doesn't seem like, selfish. Like I think there's a lot of producers who like, they appear to be like really selfish in hip hop to an extent. I love Hit Boy as well. Like, I was just reading like, how he got out of that 16-year publishing deal, man.
Salute.
Congratulations to him.
Hmm.
This is the last question, man. In 10 words or less, what's wrong or right with hip hop in 2025?
I could go all day, man. What's wrong with hip hop? Too many people too many people focus on the gimmicks and not the craft. What's right with hip hop? The emphasis on lyrical content, substance, and being able to craft incredible projects is now at the forefront. You can't come with them half-ass rhymes, them bubblegum beats, and the bubblegum content, and think that you're going to be able to just shine like that, because you might get some burn, you might get some shine, but you're gonna be up out of here just as fast as you got that shine. So I love to see it. As somebody who is, I grew up in this, I am hip hop,
Yeah, for sure.
it's not a genre, it's a lifestyle. Rap is the art, you know what I mean, that people partake in. It's just dope to see, people come through and literally just restore that feeling. And I want to thank everybody who's a participant, and as somebody who also makes music, but also as a hobby, but also I'll be in these spaces, talking to these different artists, producers, and stuff like that. It's just dope to get the insight and see that people actually still do care. So that would be my answer on both what's right and what's wrong.
That's amazing, man. Gerard, I really enjoyed this conversation. Where can people follow you on social media and also check out your music?
Follow me on, Rod King 305, RODKING 305. I'm gonna start putting some more material out, but it's gonna be, Rod King 305 on everything. So you can follow me on IG, Twitter, X. I do have Facebook, but who really uses Facebook like that anymore outside of,
Right.
for family purposes. But like, IG, Twitter, I got a TikTok joint, Rod King 305, man. Yo, I follow back too. So it's all about community for me. So it's like, I love just talking, hip hop, all things culture, all things just in general, with individuals that really want to just speak on these things, enjoy these things, and soak up game. You know what I mean?
Most definitely, man. I really appreciate you for taking the time. I'd love to have you back anytime. Appreciate you.
Yo, appreciate you. Thanks for the invite, man. I would love to do it again. This was fun.
For sure.